Good afternoon to everyone joining us from the East Coast, and good morning to those on the West Coast. My name is Larry Compton. I am a digital media expert for Ocean Systems. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk a little bit about QuickDME, our digital evidence manager, and its ability to manage all of your digital evidence silos. Your evidence, your storage, your way. So QuickDME version 3.1 recently released. That's what we're going to be talking predominantly about today. Myself and Charles Garino, our vice president, is also here with me, as well as our primary developer, Tone, is joining us today. We'll be taking questions and addressing them at the end of the session. So if you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, there's a questions and answers panel right within the webinar controls. Go ahead and pop that questions panel out, and you can submit questions throughout the webinar. And Charles and will be addressing them through the questions panel, and as I mentioned, we'll be talking about or addressing them verbally at the end of the session as time permits. So with that said, let's get right to it. Digital evidence management. So I wanted to talk about some of the common issues we see out there, and I've seen personally sitting in the chair, with managing your digital evidence. One of them being silos of data stored and managed by different people and products in different areas. And this happens through a number of ways, traditionally by implementing solutions for a particular purpose, such as in-car systems, body-worn systems, that sort of thing. Sometimes the computer forensic unit, completely separate. They manage their own digital evidence, the forensic video unit, their own storage and evidence, so on and so forth. So we build these silos of digital evidence that are very controlled and secured environments, however, not making the data accessible and certainly not leveraging our infrastructure and resources to the best of our ability. Bottlenecks get created when we build our systems and solutions this way, typically through having limited number of technicians and analysts to do some of the routine and mundane tasks based on our current policies and procedures, such as inventorying, logging, copying, burning the disk so that we can put it into physical evidence, those sorts of things. Inaccessible data causing delays in the process, either delays in the investigation, delays in the processing, and or getting this evidence to the prosecutors and attorneys and disclosing it, things of that nature. So those types of bottlenecks can often be alleviated with our solution, as we're going to point out here momentarily. Then, of course, we have those proprietary digital CCTV files creating delays, where stakeholders are often unable to even review that original evidence. They can't install the players, or they don't have the players. They don't know about utilizing the players or how to use the players, so on and so forth. So that, again, creates more delays and issues with both the investigation and adjudication of a particular matter when people can't get access to that original evidence. Other solutions on the market for managing digital evidence assets, some have, but often those that don't have a DAM solution, digital asset management solution, or digital evidence management solution, don't have any means of fully electronic disclosure, and some that have built their own electronic disclosure lack a bit in the auditing area, such as who is downloaded, who's viewed, copied, shared, who has permissions to do those things, and that sort of thing. And then, of course, the vast majority of solutions we're seeing in this particular area out there are cloud-based and cloud storage-based. And while we absolutely love leveraging the cloud just as much as the next technology integrator and solution provider, when it comes to our digital evidence management, we don't want to be or force our customers to be locked into a cloud solution, or to be locked into a solution that they can't get out of later. And so we often end up with those types of solutions creating more silos or bottlenecks that can be difficult or costly to get away from in the future. So how does QuickDME address some of those? Well, first we have to start at the beginning. When we look to do an installation of QuickDME, digital evidence management, we really have to start at the beginning of your processes. Charles, is that your mic that's all the noise in the background? I apologize. Just hearing a bunch of noise flopping around. Sorry about that, folks. But you really have to start at the beginning of the process and look at, what are we doing today from the time DME comes into our possession? Who's collecting it? Who's responsible for inventorying, logging that chain of evidence? When it gets back to your agency, does it have to be submitted to someone to burn the disk, to put into physical evidence? Is there a bottleneck there? What processes can we automate and improve while still adhering to our standards and current policies? And that's really where QuickDME's strengths are. We're able to standardize a lot of the mundane, routine procedures and still provide the security, peace of mind, and adherence to your existing policies and procedures for managing that digital evidence. So we minimize user error. We end up expediting the entire process. We have standardized reporting, detailed auditing, so on and so forth. It's often able to save us a tremendous amount of time. Hashing, copying, reporting, disk burning, purging, even automatic purging for non-evidence items such as in-car or body-worn. If our policy is, hey, we purge in-car every 90 days, or we purge the body-worn every 90 days, then we can have the system automatically do that, audit that, and keep an audited log of when that data was purged. I see somebody lost my audio. Is everybody still hearing me? Still hearing me there, Charles?
I hear you, yes.
Okay, all right. I see somebody posted that they had lost the audio. Automation being a key, leveraging our existing resources, of course. So our storage, our network, our email server. If we want to leverage our own FIPS, CJIS certified cloud storage account, we can absolutely do that and expedite the process and provide fully electronic dissemination quickly and easily with QuickDME. And then, of course, we have detailed auditing and history. Essentially, QuickDME puts you, the LE contact, in complete control of all of your digital evidence and is able to expedite many of those processes. Then, of course, we build in some of our intelligence in the area of multimedia processing and provide some ability for managing and associating proprietary digital CCTV players so that people can quickly and easily view the original evidence without, in many cases, having to install that proprietary player on their PC. So the player gets uploaded into QuickDME solution, and when somebody chooses to play it with that proprietary player, that player is then downloaded to their system and launches with the evidence loaded right within the player. As far as customizing the solution, pretty much everything can be customized to match your existing policies and procedures, from obviously agency information, but case pattern syntax, your storage structure, how you currently store the evidence, whether it's by case, by year, then by case number or crime type or so on and so forth. All of that can be mimicked in the solution to replicate exactly what you're doing today. So nothing has to change there. System settings, such as, do we want people to be able to force them to add keywords or tags to photos and assets as they're brought in or indexed into the system? Do we want to auto-delete the original source files once the evidence has been validated, that it has been hashed on the server and we have that securely stored? Do we auto-delete those source files from that original thumb drive or anything of that nature? Do we automatically include hash reports with all disseminations? We have a multitude of custom form fields so that you can add your own fields to the process of ingesting evidence, both fields, custom fields for the case and custom fields for the actual download that you're ingesting into the system. And with version 3.1, we introduced 15 more custom fields for each of those cases, the case and download. So you now have a total of 20 custom fields that you can add to your forms that way. And then, of course, building workflows that basically automate, if this, do that sort of thing, what type of hashing we're doing. Do we require further incident classification? Do we automatically burn disks for this type of crime? So on and so forth. And I mentioned the auto-purging capabilities as well. So very customizable to meet your current environment and leverage your current infrastructure and resources. Conceptually, to free up those specialists, technicians, and analysts who are often getting backlogged because of some of these routine and mundane tasks. So what else is new in QuickDME version 3.1? First and foremost, we made a number of performance improvements, including faster thumbnail generation, ASCII scanning, and disk burning. Our new linkable locations feature, essentially this feature allows you to manage digital evidence stored elsewhere on the network. So rather than having to copy all of the digital assets you may have in other locations and bring it into your primary QuickDME storage, we can now index and manage assets from other locations on your network, essentially. So maybe you have an in-car system, a body-worn system, or your computer forensics group. They're on your private network, your secure network. We can link to those locations, index that evidence without having to move that evidence from those locations. So then we can audit dissemination, tracking, so on and so forth, and leverage all of QuickDME's features still for those situations. 3.1 also introduced our new custom search. We've implemented custom search such that it gives you some basic Boolean search capabilities to more quickly and easily find your assets when you're dealing with thousands of cases in the systems, and in some cases, tens of thousands of records for a particular case. We added file associations now that can be specific to a particular folder. So for instance, rather than creating an association that's going to be system-wide for a proprietary file, well, maybe I have multiple .DVR sources, and I want to create a file association specific to this case or this download folder. You now have the ability to do that, as I'm about to demonstrate. And then we've improved our derivative process, which we're going to walk through here momentarily. Essentially, we bring assets into our system for all of the capabilities that we've talked about and some more. We can quickly send those assets to third-party applications like Photoshop, so we can leverage ClearID to do some image clarification, input ACE to rewrap or do some basic workflow functionality, and then bring those assets back in as a derivative. And the new derivative process makes it much easier to associate those derivatives with the original source files. So it'll automatically select the folder, as you'll see, and give you the option to manually override that. And then display those assets next to that original source folder. We've made a number of interface improvements as well, which I'm getting ready to show you, such as adding different views in our items window, adding the ability to filter items in the items window. We've updated menus, both the primary menu and our right-click menu, to make things quicker and easier to find. We've added new storage meter from customer requests so that they can see how much storage they're leveraging for their primary QuickDME storage location. Added the ability to save layout preferences and more. Some of the other key features in previous releases, things like our quick video player, which allows us to play many proprietary video files right within the QuickDME interface and not even needing that proprietary player. We've updated the player in version 3. We added some other capabilities such as showing file or frame types, the audio metering and more. Send to associations introduced with version 3. This allows us to send those assets directly out to a third-party application on our system for further processing without having to manually copy all of that evidence out, create a local working copy, so on and so forth. And I'm going to show you how to expedite our interrogation and processing of these assets. And then we can quickly and easily bring those derivatives back into AccessDME for tracking and dissemination. Speaking of dissemination, cloud dissemination was introduced in version 3. That's fully electronic, can leverage your agency's Dropbox, your agency's FIPS or CGIS certified Amazon storage, or Azure. We're working on Azure storage for that option as well. But right now you want to, if you have permissions and you want to disseminate electronically, it's as simple as going File, Upload, noting who you're disseminating to, password protecting it if you'd like, and determining how long you want that data to be available to that person. The data gets loaded, zipped, and then uploaded to your cloud account, and you're provided with a link to share with that person. It's timed, it's tracked, it's all audited, and can be automatically removed based on the expiration dates you set in that process. Some of the other key features, things like email notifications, you can create custom rules so administrators or even end users can be notified when assets have been added to a case or any assets are added to any case, so on and so forth. The derivative workflow I've talked about. The player manager has been improved. Our new auto association capability is really slick and has improved dramatically. Essentially, you have permissions to do associations. I'll show you it's as easy as 2 clicks in creating the association and allowing others to leverage that. And the ability to add some special instructions via PDF or et cetera if it's a complicated player or a poorly designed player, which is often the case with these proprietary players. And we have basic image redaction features provided as well. So if it's, you're looking to redact some information from an image, you can quickly go in, blur, obscure objects, so on and so forth. And then if you're doing that redaction right through AccessDME, that asset is brought back in as a derivative to that original source folder automatically. So everything's tracked for you as to what was disseminated and who edited, redacted, so on and so forth. So with all that said, let's take a quick look at the interface. Charles, anything you want to interject here before I get too much farther?
Nope.
Excellent.
I think I'm excited to see the new stuff in here, so I'm going to let you roll with it.
All right. So what I'm looking at here is our database setup utility. This is a utility that the system administrator will leverage to initially configure the solution. Typically, we're consulting with you on the setup and implementation of QuickDME, of course. But on this utility is where you'll find our new linkable locations, where the administrator can quickly and easily get into linkable locations. And you can see I have my QuickDME primary storage, but I can quickly and easily add other locations by simply clicking add, giving it a name, and saying maybe this is my in-car stuff, and then adding my network path location. So my evidence, in-car, what have you. And now this location gets added, and what that does for me is provide me the ability to quickly and easily link directly to those assets without having to move them. So I'm going to do one and actually create one directly from the desktop of my current system. Now this wouldn't be a real world type of scenario, but because I'd want that path available to my primary QuickDME user account for security purposes. But to show you how this works, I want to add a linkable location and show you how the data basically can be linked directly to its existing source. So I'm going to pop in. I just went to Quick Downloader in my taskbar and chose Browse from Quick Downloader, which brought up this Browse folder. Of course, if I insert a disk or a thumb drive or attach another drive, QuickDME by default is going to automatically come up and ask you if you want to ingest evidence from that source file. So that process is automated. And you can, of course, ingest evidence from for a single case, or you could ingest evidence for multiple cases during one ingest step. And we've improved that multiple case ingest process as well. So this window asks me, do I want to bring evidence into a single case, multiple cases, etc.? And down below here, you'll see this link to current sources. And so I'm going to leverage that in this particular case. And that just simply means that I'm not going to have to copy that data over to the QuickDME evidence storage. We're just going to manage it, index it, and manage it right from its existing location. So our Quick Downloader window, we've had these multiple views of the assets for quite some time in the downloader interface. Tree, list, thumbnail, we can double-click to preview. I'm going to add this information to an existing case. So I'm going to type in an existing case number and just hit tab, and you'll see that it's going to pre-populate that existing case's address information, type of crime. I can even update the case comments. And now down here I have my download information. It pre-populates with the case address if that's appropriate. I'm going to leave it there and tab on. I'm just going to tell it who collected it, which user account, when it was collected, who's ingesting or downloading it into the system. And then I can add some comments. Now, these are custom fields. This comments field is a custom field, both on the download and the case. And I have another custom field that just asks, does this case include video? So I'll just add some comments and then no video in this particular download. And at this point, I can just click Begin Downloading to start that process. And you see, Quick Downloader quickly burned through that data because it didn't have to move it, it just needed to index it. My system is currently set up to automatically generate what we call a property sheet, and this is an option for the administrators. And so it's going to create a property sheet that just gives me a summary of the items that were currently ingested. So that property sheet is right here, all the case information, the types of assets that were ingested, etc. My system's also set to automatically tag files. So think of tagging as keywords. I can mark assets with various keywords, motion, blur, plates, station wagon, what have you, and just go through these and add as many keywords as I'd like. And as I add them, you can see that they get added to this quick text list. So if I need to reuse, I can use my keyboard shortcuts to do that. When I'm at the end of the tagging interface, it says, hey, you're at the last image. You want to save? Yes, I do. Do you want to print your tag log? Another option set up by administrators. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose to print my tag log with thumbnails. So I'm going to print it to PDF so you can get a quick look at the tag log, which is very similar. All of our case information and download information. All of this, obviously, agency information is customizable. But then we have my assets, their hash values, the tags I entered for those assets, and the thumbnails reflected in the tag report. If I'm done, that's all I want to do is save my changes. I click Save, and my download's complete. So we've immediately got the assets into the system, tagged those assets, and now we're going to go into Access DME and take a look at those assets right within the interface. So while Access DME is opening, here's my email notification that I've got new assets ingested into the system. This just came in based on my alerts to say, hey, we've got new evidence added to this particular case. Here's all of the information, all the custom field information, sizes, and so on and so forth. And this was based on my particular preferences, setup, and settings. So before we go too far, I want to show some of the updates in the interface. So I'm going to just do a quick search here for that case that we just indexed assets to. But you'll notice a number of updates throughout the interface, those that have been using QuickDME, those that may be new or have seen it in the past. First and foremost, down in our items window, we've added a couple of different views to our items window, so you now have the list and tree views, which show the folder hierarchy for the particular download you're selected or working with over in our search window. The items window now has, the ability to sort by columns in the list view, so on and so forth. We can view our tags for each of the assets, change columns around, etc. We can also filter items by clicking on these little filter icons. By default, they're all set to show all file types, but maybe I didn't want to see images. Well, I just uncheck the images, and now all of the images in this download are not being displayed. So we have the quick, easy way of filtering in multiple views that we recently added. We also have the ability to save our window layouts now, another new feature in version 3.1. So here, I've expanded these windows over. I can minimize them. I can completely pull them off and put them onto another monitor, which is what I like to do. Generally, I keep these over onto another monitor on the side, so I have more screen real estate to deal with large downloads and large previews in the quick view. And if I go up to the edit menu, my settings, I can now save my layout. So the next time I launch AccessDME, I'll have the exact same layout and window locations in the interface. So a nice new feature. If I need to reset and want to get back to the default layout, I just go My Settings, Reset, and that'll reset all of the window locations. So let's take a quick look at the assets I just brought in. I have this motion blur plate. You can see we're viewing from cache. We're viewing a low resolution copy of this image for purposes of saving bandwidth. I'm going to choose to download the full resolution, and when I do that, it downloads the full file. I do have permissions to view it multiple ways, so I can view it in quick view, or I could view this asset with my Windows default viewer for that file type. So that's my local Windows file associations. And when that happens, the asset is actually obscured into a temporary location so that the user wouldn't be able to find that asset and then removed from there once it's done. Let's talk a bit about workflow. Let's say I just want to create a derivative of this asset. I want to quickly adjust this motion blur, for instance. So I have some send-to associations created in my system for image types. And in this particular case, I have Photoshop send-to. I'm going to send this asset directly out to Photoshop. We'll do a quick correction on this asset and bring it back in as a derivative. And so we can see we have some blurring here. I'm just going to quickly, many of you may have seen this in previous demonstrations. I'm just going to get an angle and approximate distance on this motion, and then I'm going to just pop right into our motion blur tool in QuickDME under focus correction. And so we've got our angle and distance estimated. I think my distance might be off. I can still see some mirroring effects in this case. So I'm going to try and go right on up to about somewhere in, let's bring the softening up, maybe get right around 5, and now we can start to see my plate. So I've adjusted the length of the motion and the image noise floor to make the artifacting a little bit softer, and we can see our data much more clearly. Let's say that's all I wanted to do in this case, so I'm going to say File, and I'm going to save this derivative to my desktop. I've created a folder called Photos Case. So I'm going to say License Blur, Deblur, Fix, something of that nature. We'll save it as a TIFF file. save that out, uncompress to that folder, and then maybe I also want to save out the verification report and a JPEG version of this. So I'm just going to pop over to verification report, save that out to the same location. And then last but not least, I want to save a JPEG version of this for dissemination. So I'm going to do a save as, and I'll choose JPEG, and we'll save that into the same location, maximum, okay. And then once that's done, we can see my verification report opened up, including my system settings and system information. I'm going to go ahead and close out of here and ingest those assets back into QuickDME. So right on this particular download, you can see I have it highlighted. I want to bring in those derivatives. I go File, Add Derivative to launch our derivative ingest process. Now, a new field has been added here called Derived From. And you can see that it's auto-populated with the particular download record that I'm on. So at the end of each of these download records, I have the date, the username, and then a unique download ID. That download ID, by default, will be automatically associated here from the folder you're currently viewing. I can manually change it if this was from a different one of those download IDs, but this will keep this derivative associated with its source. We've also expanded the derivative notes field. So now we can type a lot of notes in here, and we can even do so as paragraphs, etc. So lots of detail can be added. And then the rest of the process is very much like the ingest. I'm just going to who collected it, who uploaded it, LAC, use clear ID, and does it include video? No. And I choose the folder and say OK. It's going to do the exact same process it does on ingest through downloader, which is copy, hash both the source, and then hash the copy, validate that everything matches, and here's our derivative with a blue folder icon to indicate that it is a derivative, and this is the source immediately above it. So now we have our JPEG fixed image in there, the TIFF file that is the working copy source, and even our clear ID verification log kept right within the interface. So that's the new updated derivative process, making it easier to see and identify the way derivatives are associated. As for the folder icons, yellow being a typical download, the light blue is a derivative, and then you'll see this little blue arrow icon on those folders that are linked to the source and not stored in QuickDME storage. They're linked to one of those new linkable locations that we've created. So another new feature is that custom Boolean search we mentioned. We can search any of the fields that we have, but if we now choose custom search, we have the new Boolean search capability come up. So maybe I want to look for only cases from 2017. And then I want to narrow that down and only pick cases of a particular crime type. Maybe I just want domestic violence cases, so on and so forth. And I can keep adding variables to this to get to what I want. This has saved a tremendous amount of time for some of our customers with thousands and thousands of cases and assets. Some customers have been using the solution for years now, so certainly makes it much easier to identify. And then I can just add these right to my search tool and have those cases listed. And so there's the evidence from those particular cases. Now, of course, we can still do our typical search capabilities as well. I'll just show all cases in the system here, and we'll search the entire system. You'll notice that we've updated the main menus. So under File, we've consolidated the burn, copy, print, purge, upload capabilities. We've created the new reports menu back in version 3, so all of the reports are conveniently under one menu item now. the tools menu, where we access things like creating file associations and redaction, viewing cloud disseminations. Edit menus, where we get to my settings, existing file association list, send to associations, and more. So you can see I have a few associations created, the Photoshop one we just used, an input ACE one. For the send to associations, it's important to note that if the end user's client PC doesn't have input ACE installed, for instance, then that won't appear in their send to association list. So the application actually has to be installed on the client PC in order for folks to see that. So that's custom search and our send to stuff. And I wanted to show you the new associates by download folder. So in this case, you can see down here in my items window, I have a remote eyes system with a few AVI files. If I select the AVI files, we can pop over and see it's downloading and loading it into my interface over the network. But we can see the file data, metadata for this file is basically empty, and that is because Remote Eyes uses a proprietary method of encoding their AVIs such that Windows Media Player, VLC, GOM, so on and so forth, can't find the streams inside the file to quickly and easily play them. Just like our Quick View player says here, it says, hey, we failed to open this file. We could send it out to view this in Windows Media Player, and we're going to end up getting the exact same problems. It's not going to be able to load the file, play the file. You need their proprietary player. So I'm going to create a quick association for AVI that is specific to this download folder, and to do that, I'll go to Tools, Associate, and our association window, down at the very bottom, we have the Auto Associate feature. So I'm just going to try this, click Auto Associate, and because there was a player right within the download folder, it found it quickly and easily and says, hey, AVS player, is this correct? If not, I can manually browse to it to upload it. I can add a description, Remote Eyes player. Down below, I have some additional options, such as local to this download, meaning that this association is only specific to this folder that I'm currently highlighted on. So that's the way I want this association to work for AVI. I'm going to say save, and when I do, and then flip over to thumbnail view, you'll now see that the file thumbnail view shows a little movie icon for that particular player, that player's icon in the bottom right-hand corner. And when I right-click on it now, I can download and view in Quick View, which won't work, Windows Media Player, which won't work, or its associated player, and it's going to automatically load that player with the file loaded for me. So that's really nice to have the ability to create those associations specific to download folders now. So some of the other capabilities, we have introduced an updated right-click menu. So we've added the ability to check by type, check by extension, and all of our check and uncheck options, make them available right through the right-click menu. The send to options and download and view are still in the right-click menu as well. But as I mentioned, that have expedited, designed to basically expedite our process. And then let's say I wanted to disseminate these derivatives. I can do that if I have permissions via burning them to disk, copying them out to another storage medium for sharing, printing, purging, or uploading to the cloud. In this case, I could just upload this entire folder, and it asks me who you're going to release it to. Do you want to password protect it? And how long do you want this available on your cloud storage? This expires in, will automatically delete the assets from the cloud storage account based on this, obviously. And we can also manage through both all cloud disseminations through both access DME, and our admin configurator. Do I want to include a hash report? So it'll automatically create a CSV file with the hashes for all of the assets contained as well. And this process will take the assets, put them into a zip, create the hash report, then upload them to the cloud, and provide you a link right here within the interface for you to share for those who need access to it. Again, all of that information is going to be audited and available in the audit records. If I actually do that upload, it would be listed in the audit records. So a nice, quick, easy way to disseminate information via the cloud. And then, of course, if we had done any prior cloud disseminations, they'd be listed here in our cloud disseminations, where if we have permissions, we can manage, delete, change times for how long they'll be listed or available, so on and so forth. That's also available via our admin configurator. Okay, so I think I've made it through a good part of the demonstrative stuff that I wanted to make sure I showed off on the new features. The interface updates, speed improvements, usability improvements, custom fields updates, saving layouts, custom search, the new views. So I see some questions coming in. Charles, how are things coming along on that front?
Oh, I think that I typed back some responses, but we can work our way through the list and share them with everybody. If you want to get up to the top here, first question, and actually, if need be, we can have Tone, I guess, chime in if we wanted to do that. But
Sure.
So the first one was regarding linking to other internet-based evidence servers. So currently, we're doing a link to locations that are on, on your premises, logical storage locations. We have had requests and had talks about ways of linking to other cloud-based evidence storage locations. Some people make SDKs that could be linked to. I know one customer who they've simply worked out a process for doing that, where they download the media, the in-car, the body-worn video from the cloud-based location. They just do a download, put it on their system, then they just check it in with QuickDME. So that's the current process, though we are in conversation about future features as we continue to develop the product.
I see a question about an ideal world. It'd be great to have our frontline officers being able to collect the video, attend the station, upload the video to the cloud. Our video disclosure unit would then provide a link where investigators, lawyers would be able to click on the link and stream the video. So that's going to, the streaming piece of that dissemination is really going to be dependent on your cloud. So for instance, right now we can leverage Dropbox and Amazon Web Services. I believe in both cases, I certainly know the case in Dropbox, and I believe with Web Services as well, if it's a video asset or multimedia asset that they can play, that those solutions can play, they provide the ability to play it through the cloud. So for instance, if I did an upload to Dropbox of an MP4 file, sent the link to somebody, they can play that file right there without having to, in their browser, without having to download it. We ourselves are not providing a web portal capability in the solution at this point, although it has been discussed. Other questions? I think we got several coming in here.
We had one about a software write blocker versus hardware write blockers. I'd simply respond to that is currently there's not a integrated software write blocker in the program. Again, we talk about lots of features all the time, so that's not currently something that does exist, and it has been up to individual agencies to select the hardware right blockers and their SOPs for ingesting as things stand right now. Do you have anything to add to that, Larry?
I apologize. I wasn't paying too much attention as I was reading some of the other questions. Sorry.
It was just regarding software write blockers and hardware write. Well, obviously, we we can provide CPUs, forensic workstations, hardware write blockers in our solutions that we supply. So if somebody's looking to get a QuickDME software and hardware solution completely from us, we can provide the hardware write blocker integrated into the CPUs.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So somebody asked, is there a way to generate a report PDF? Absolutely. We have many reports, from audit reports, tag reports, property sheet report I showed you, the tag report I showed you, but we have upload reports, the new item inventory report, so I can search for all items from specific dates. So let me just do 2017 to now search, and it's going to give me an overview of those assets, the type of cases, the types of files, how much storage, and I can see the new storage meter for my primary QuickDME storage here in the items window. This, of course, can be printed right out, but this gives me a quick, easy look at how much storage is free, how much is used, and how it's being used, so that we can stay on top of that. Dissemination, purge reports, so on and so forth. All of these things can be printed to PDF depending on your system. And in many cases, we have Ocean Systems PDF printer as well. So, for instance, tag report, I send it out to PDF. But we can also customize report layouts. So if you have those custom, custom report layouts configured already, you can mimic those with our solution. Do we support single sign-on? No. The answer is no. We don't support single sign-on currently. However, that is largely, I think, because we really wanted to provide law enforcement the control on the solution. We do allow users to be imported from Active Directory, so you can import your users from Active Directory into QuickDME admin configurator, and leverage that. However, the permissions are going to be managed completely separately, and there's several benefits to that, including who has access to what and when. So as we've talked about in the past, there are some types of evidence that IT simply can't have access to for any reason, and today, many agencies are storing that evidence locally, offline in their computer forensics, such that IT can't get at it, so on and so forth. But when deploying QuickDME, we're going to consult with you about, obviously, leveraging all of its capabilities and security. And so here under our personnel, we can do an import, from CSV file or Active Directory to bring users into the solution and then assign them permissions for overrides. Right next to the personnel setup is our print profile, where you can manage those custom print profiles or allow users to create their own print profiles if you want, for the layout of thumbnails and images and reports and what information shows up where in those particular reports. I mentioned managing the cloud disseminations from admin configurators, so here's the exact same interface. The difference being when the administrator is doing this through our admin configurator, they can see all cloud disseminations for every case and manage them through the interface this way. We recently also updated the settings tab, so those that have seen the solution before or been into the solution for a few versions may notice that the settings tab has been reorganized and re-updated as well. So this is where we set up our default solution. How do we want things to work, such as selecting assets when we're ingesting, restricting, tagging, all of those things are customizable and controllable right within the interface. Go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry.
Now, before you get on, Okay. Well, while Larry was there, I just wanted to make sure, because I know we have some existing users on here, and just for people that are looking to get this moving forward, when we view things in Quick Downloader and we view things in Access DME, there's options in there that say, show me all the video, show me all the images, show me all the audio, those types of things, and there's associated icons that go along with that. So you see here where we have a known file types, right? So this is pre-populated as the product is designed and you install it. We've got the basic things covered. But if you have specific files that proprietary DVR files, whatever, that you want to add to your list, you just add them in here and then they become part of whatever those groups are. If not, they'll show up as an unknown icon. And there's also the capability inside of here for some people. They have lots of media. They're ingesting crime scene photography off flash drives, things like that. And they didn't want all these, the little index and database files and things like that. So there's an excludes list that you can put those things in so they're not all combined in with your evidence. The other question that was on here that I was going to address was there was one about when we're doing the player manager association local to a case, why that would be important, right? So just as a bigger topic, the player manager is you ingest a player, it puts it centrally into the storage location so that every individual that's logging into the system doesn't have to know, what player is needed for that file, because there's an association for it. So it's a global managing of your knowledge to leverage for your entire team. I know that a specific player plays for this file. I set it up. I have admin privileges to do those associations, so we're not everyone's stepping on each other's toe. You put, a person or two in charge of doing that, and then everyone on the network can benefit from it. So the reason why you would want to do one specific to a case or a folder is because sometimes there's specific versions of players that are needed to play that digital media type right then. So you don't want to change it for everybody, but it's an older player maybe, and you need to do that local type of association. The other question that's kind of related to that is it says, is there an option to ingest media rather than linking to it? So the link to is actually a new feature. The standard method of how things had been done is, QuickDME can sit on your workstation and you can just manage your caseload with it. You could be a smaller unit and tie it into a network, and you can have a shared storage location that multiple people are linked to and you're ingesting the evidence there. Or if that network using the link to feature is now connected to a computer server or a crime scene photography server, that type of thing, the individual would not need to have access to that server. You would just set the link up one time in the back end, and then you link to the media there. And computer forensics images can be rather large, so you don't want to import it locally, you just want to link to it. When it comes time to do a disclosure, then you can pull that data and disclose the entire package. Did I get that right, Larry?
Yes. Yeah. I see one. What is electronic disclosure? And what we mean by electronic disclosure is that you're able to disclose assets fully electronically without having to, burn the disk or burn to a drive or a piece of media to turn or disclose those assets over. So you can disclose them fully electronically without having to copy the assets to media for the purposes of disclosing. And the last thing I wanted to mention out of the question list is the ideal world of having our frontline officers be able to collect video in the field and then ingest this into our stations. One of our big customers of QuickDME leveraged that particular capability to reduce their backlog substantially. So they did have multiple people trained in digital evidence recovery, of course, working out in the field, and they have a several-person unit of digital, specifically forensic video folks. However, when people would go collect video in the field, they had to bring it into the office, put in their request, to have that evidence that's stored on the thumb drive or hard drive or disk that they or what have you out in the field, to have that evidence burnt to a physical disk for purposes of putting into physical evidence and entered into their also into their digital asset management solution. So with QuickDME, we can create a process where a user that has no knowledge of, really, it's that simple, that they really don't need any knowledge of your policies and procedures because the system provides that framework for them. So a patrol officer can collect video evidence from a scene, come back to his agency, or if he's running QuickDME and his MDT in the car with, decent network connectivity, he could do it right from there. But the gist is that they can ingest that evidence and follow your policies and procedures in a forensically sound manner. So fully audited, everything is hashed and validated, and all they've got to do is walk through a form, to enter the proper case information and fill out whatever fields you require them to fill out to bring the evidence in. And that automated that process such that it reduced backlogs for that agency, and in fact, absolutely eliminated them. Backlogs had gotten up to, in some cases, over a week or 2 weeks, as I understand it, just for burning stuff to disk to put into physical evidence. So a lot of those types of things can be fully automated, and we can leverage the knowledge, collective knowledge of everyone working with the assets in the workflow. So just another one of those things that are beneficial. I wanted to point out a few quick resources for those before we wrap up the webinar. For those interested in more information, of course, we would absolutely love to talk to you. We also have a tremendous amount of information on our website. I'm going to bring that over real quick and show you on our website our products listed on the left. If we go to workflow, we have a general overview, some videos, overviews, news, specs, proposal requests. Trial and updates is going to take you right to the latest version of QuickDME, where you can get access to the release notes and videos and stuff again. And then our download request form. Once you fill out this form, it takes you directly to the download page where you can download and install QuickDME. And it also provides you with some sample database and sample evidence items on that download page. So same process works for all of our solutions, of course, on the website. And then our Twitter account at Ocean Systems, that's where we're, shouting out about the recent activities, software updates, shows, training events. Certainly hope you'll follow us on there. Our new forums and store from the secure site. So if you go to Ocean Systems and then click on the store button, that's going to take you right over to the new Ocean Systems secure portal, where you can browse our products and our forums and our blog and so on and so forth as well. So pay attention to those for further information. And that, I believe, is right on time. I think we're right at an hour. So essentially, QuickDME provides you the ability to manage your evidence, your storage, your way, leveraging your existing policies and procedures, and without having to be locked into, cloud storage or a proprietary solution that essentially is going to be very costly and time-consuming to get away from in the future. If you put QuickDME in your environment today, and decide 6 months from now it's just not the solution for me, guess what? All your evidence is still stored in the same folder structure you were using before QuickDME, and now you have a SQL database. So, that's worst case scenario. So we hope you'll download, give a try, reach out to us. We love to speak with you about the problems and issues you may be having with managing your digital evidence and helping you solve those. Thanks so much for everybody's time today. I really appreciate you guys. Charles, Tone, and team, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Have a great day, everybody. Take care.